Hey chillers, welcome back to my channel. Let me turn you guys just a little bit. There we go. It's Tuesday, which means it is scary day. Please ignore that. Noises in the background. So today I'm reading BuzzFeed Horror Story, or BuzzFeed Scary Ghost Stories. Now, I am taking a small break from There's Something Wrong with My Fiance. The thing with that is I don't know if there's a new update to it. If there is, please let me know in the comments below. And yeah, let's just jump straight into today's video. Number 1, the plus one. I was 13, home alone with a friend who was visiting from out of state. She told me about an imaginary friend she had and how she would use a Ouija board to speak to it. If you have to use a Ouija board, that's a ghost. Girl, you dumb. I told her it was fake, but she insisted that she prove it to me. She took out her Ouija board and asked the entity if it could give us a sign. The board spelled out, "Look at the window." When we looked up, 3 birds crashed into my bedroom window, all at the same time. Let's just say she and her friend weren't invited back to my house. Number 2, the reunion. My childhood best friend and I got into a huge fight and lost contact. When I turned 20, I had a dream that she walked up to me, arms outstretched, and said, "I miss you. I'm sorry." The next day, I was home with my then boyfriend, and we heard a knock at the door. There my old friend stood, arms outstretched, and the first thing she said was, "I miss you. I'm sorry." I just hugged her without a word, and all was forgiven. The next week, my boyfriend left me for another girl. And that friend was the only reason I got through it. I believe the universe gave me what I needed. Oh, that's so sweet. That's really sweet, though. The succubus. This is number 3, the succubus. When I was a kid, my cousin and I were playing around with some ghost summoning stuff, and we recorded it, thinking it was all just silliness. However, once we watched the video back, I stopped mid-summoning and randomly said, "Succubus," out loud. I have absolutely no memory of that. Or of saying that. Number 4, the corner. I have a friend who lives in a very old house. My son is 1 year old. I hate background noise. And her daughter is 2 years old. And whenever they're upstairs, they'll suddenly stop playing and stare intensely at this specific corner, without speaking. We have another friend who brought her 2-year-old daughter over recently for a play date, and she stopped and stared into the corner as well. What was in that corner? That's scary. Number 5, the regular resident. I was 14, sitting on the couch at my mom's house, home alone, at night. My dog started to growl out of nowhere. I looked up from my laptop and saw a woman walking across my kitchen. This was a solid person I saw, like I legit thought someone broke into the house. So I ran out the front door. 2 years later, my brother had a friend sleeping on the couch. The next morning, he asked me why he kept walking around the kitchen all night. I wasn't. Number 6, the guardian grandpa. I've had weird things happen to me all of my life, but I've always been a skeptic. That is, until May 13th, 2014. When I had a dream that my grandfather, who died when I was 7 months old, told me I was going to become very sick tomorrow, but would be alright. Shush. That afternoon, I had a seizure. My first seizure ever. I had another the next day, and then another after that. We still don't have answers to what's going on with me, but even when I've been the most scared, I think back to that dream, and it's oddly calming. though still kind of creepy. 7. The Musical Mom. My mother passed away October of 2010. About 6 months after her death, I was up at 3 a.m. watching TV when, out of nowhere, I heard my mother's music box playing from the dining room. I ran upstairs, woke up my dad, and tried my best to explain what I'd just heard. We went back downstairs to find the dining room impossibly cold. After inspecting the music box, I tried everything I could to get it to play again, but it wouldn't. But that's your mommy. She's trying to tell you, hey, I'm here, I'm still here. Love you, kid. Number 8, the name game. Ever since I was born, we've had this old painting of my great-grandmother. As a running joke, I've said it was haunted to freak my mom out. But this New Year's Eve, it wasn't a joke anymore. I was getting ready to go out when my mom yelled for me to come to the foyer. Right beside the painting, there was a name etched in perfect light from the sun setting. It was my great-grandmother's nickname. We both stared in shock until she told me to get my phone to take this picture as the letters began to fade. I'll never be the same. I'm completely convinced in the paranormal now. Now, if I can get it to, I'm going to show you guys the photo. Let's see if I can. Oh, crab sticks. Sorry, I swiped off the page. There we go. If you can see it. Stupid ads. There you go. I don't know if you can see it or not. Hold on, let me turn my brightness down a little bit. Alright, that should help. Hopefully you guys can see it. I don't want to overexpose it. I'll try one more time. Here. Hopefully you guys can see. It's like right here. But anyway, number 9. The Devil's Touch. My family has always claimed to have paranormal experiences, but I never really believed them until 2 years ago. We were all in our respective rooms asleep when my mother, my sister, and I all woke up at the same time, the exact same time, screaming bloody murder. I had woken up because I felt a sudden excruciating pain. I ran out of my room to find the rest of my family freaking out too. It turned out my mother and sister had the same experience. We were even more unsettled later when my 5-year-old sister kept saying, "The devil touched us," because no one had ever explained the concept of the devil to her. Number 10. The Not-So-Imaginary Friend. As a little girl, I had an imaginary friend named David. He had olive skin with dark hair and dark eyes. One day, while playing with my landlord's nephews, I told them a bit about David. The oldest boy was confused and called his aunt, my landlord's wife, over to talk to me. He asked me to describe David to her. As I did, she started to cry. Apparently, long before my family moved into her home, she had a baby boy who passed away from SIDS. His name was David, and he too had black hair and brown eyes and olive skin. Ooh, that hits close to home. Well, not the... Well, for the lady, not for me. Dang. That's gotta hurt. Okay. Number 11. The Self-Summoning Ouija Board. I was having a sleepover with my friends and someone brought a Ouija board. A few girls left the room, but most stayed. I always thought it was fake and people were moving it, but we all lifted our fingers off and it kept moving. We asked the spirit if it knew anybody with us. It moved to yes. So we asked for the initials of that person. It went to E, then to K. Sorry. There was nobody with those initials, so we said goodbye. The next day we told the girls who left the room what happened. One of them turned red and said, "Oh my God, those are my initials." Her middle name started with K, and none of us knew. I am now a firm believer. 12. The restroom resident about said incident. A couple years ago, I visited Savannah, Georgia, and went to a restaurant called the Old Pink House. While I was using the women's restroom on the top floor, I started to feel uneasy. I looked in the mirror while washing my hands, and I saw a woman standing right behind me, but only for a split second. Later that night, we went on a ghost tour, and as we were driving past the house, the guide explained how in the 18th century, an elite family lived in that mansion, and a woman hung herself in the closet, which is now the women's restroom. Ever since then, I have questioned the existence of the paranormal. Number 13. The lease breaker. I've never believed in ghosts until I moved into a very old house this year. The weird activity started with intact lights suddenly switching off, then escalated to people hearing loud music. I once woke up in my room to find all of my posters hung upside down and my things scattered on the floor. It got to the point where I had a camera installed, since I was worried someone was breaking into my home. But the shadowy figures and bizarre high-pitched screeches on the tape were enough to make me terminate my lease. 14. The Bro Ghost. Nothing paranormal happened to me, and I didn't believe any of it. Then I met my boyfriend. There was a corner of his room that always had a strange energy. We were watching a movie one night, and it felt like someone was watching me. I kept looking up at that spot, so my boyfriend finally asked, "What was wrong?" I told him, and he responded nonchalantly, "Oh yeah, that's where my ghost likes to hang out." Apparently his family is sensitive to the paranormal. They have a ghost that follows the men in their family. When he moved to his own house, it followed him. We hear voices and footsteps, feel hands touch us, and see shadowy figures. I can't explain it, but hey, 7 years later, I'm still with my boyfriend, ghost and all. Number 15. The Phantom Phone. When I was in high school, my friends and I were playing with a Ouija board. Again, a terrible idea. We were super skeptical about the paranormal, so my friend asked the spirit to call her phone. The planchette was unmoving, so I jokingly suggested we say her phone number out loud for the spirit. Not even a full second after she said the final digit, her phone began to ring. We all freaked out and ran. After we composed ourselves, we went back to check her phone. It was turned off. We turned it back on and saw she had a single missed call from a restricted number. Later that night, several of her contacts texted her claiming that they had multiple missed calls from her number during the time frame her phone was off. I never touched a Ouija board again. Good for you. Good for you. Number 16. The Missing Mom. I met my college roommate on move-in day. There were 4 people with her. Her father, her stepmom, her aunt, and another woman who kept walking around the car, avoiding me. After everyone was gone, I asked my roommate, "Who was the third woman with you?" She said, "Well, there was my stepmom, Lori, and my Aunt Carol." I said, "No, she had curly hair and blue top." My roommate shrugged and assumed the woman must have been with another group. Later that night, she put up some pictures and I recognized the woman. "That's the woman. What's her name?" I felt vindicated, but my roommate just looked at me and said, "That's my mom. She died when I was 7. Both of us were very freaked out. Well, it's good that your mommy's following you. 17. The Visiting Uncle. My husband's brother died unexpectedly. He was the best uncle ever to our daughter, who had just turned 2 when he passed. She attended the funeral, but we told her that he was sleeping for a long time, and we would see him later. Fast forward one full year. Gosh, I cannot talk. And she randomly started talking about him. "He's with Jesus in the real church. It's beautiful. He's happy. We will go later." We have never discussed the concept of heaven with her, and we aren't very religious. Number 18. This is the last one. The Ouija Magician. My best friend and I used Ouija boards a lot growing up. Still, bad idea. I never fully believed it was real until one night. We asked if anyone was there. Yes. It was a 12-year-old girl. My friend suggested playing a guessing game, so I asked the girl if she wanted to play. Yes. I got a deck of cards, picked a random card, and left it face down. I said, "Okay, tell me what is on the card." The planchette moved around a bit as if confused. Finally, it moved to 7. Then RED 7. I turned the card over. and it was the 7 of Diamonds. That's a red suit. We both haven't used a Ouija board since then, December 2012. Good for you, mate. You shouldn't be using the Ouija board at all. Those things are dangerous. Well, there you guys go. That was BuzzFeed Ghost Stories. And they're from people in that community, and they told me to send them real life stories, so those are real stories. I don't want to have something like that happen, which I will never touch a Ouija board because that's a terrible idea. It invites demons into your house, and I don't want that. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up so I know. Please let me know if there's an update to something wrong with my fiance, and I will definitely read it for you guys. And I will see you guys on Challenge Day Thursday. Please follow all my social media down below in the description. Peace out, chillers.